more than just orcs. There is evil there that does not sleep. And the great I is ever watchful.
There you go, my friends. This is MERP, Middle Earth role-playing game system produced by the same people who brought you Rollmaster, Iron Crown Enterprises, back in the 80s and 90s. Perils on the Sea of Rhun. I either recently did a video or I have one pending on. I get my volume down here. Make sure I got my. Yeah, everything should be working. This would be the third attempt at making a video today. I made one earlier, and then I've been trying to make another one, and the computer crashed on me last. And this, so I'm moving on to the next thing. This is, like I said, Perils. I'll go ahead and move these up here out of the way a bit. This is located in the area around the Sea of Rhun, which is east of southern Mirkwood and south of the Iron Hills, north of Mordor. I use the Mordor entry thing because there's a lot of places in Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings, that are not. They're in there in the maps. They're in there in some of the appendixes and things like that. They're just not in the game itself or the movies or anything like that. So there's limited to how much video clippage I can, borrow to enhance my own video. So that is that. And what I like about this and its associated module is that it's opening up areas that are not normally in canon, if you will, but they are part and parcel of Middle Earth. These are places, these are people, and that are not considered Westerners. They're not from Gondor, not Rohan, things like this. This, like I said, this is Pearl. It is a ready-to-run adventure module. It, like all MERP products, it includes some information on yet a new location. Author designer William Belfeld, Peter Stousen, copyright 1989. So this came out 4 years after I graduated high school. Handling play, the conversion chart, which is always nice and handy for converting. If you want to use Dungeons and Dragons, you want to use Pathfinder rules, this little chart helps you make an easy conversion. And once you got that in your head, the D100 system is actually fairly easy to modify. Here are a bunch of player character options or NPC options, depending on how you want to look at it. Then here is a map of the general area. The one I was referring to that kind of it deals with Dorwinion, the land of maidens and wine. This is an adventure set on the Sea of Rhun. It says here, Dorwinion, its lands of people and their cultures and political interactions, like any of Middle Earth's varied lands, possess a number of characteristics which can be taken into consideration for role-playing. We got geography here. As always, these are interesting material just for the sake of reading. If you want more depth in your understanding of J.R.R. Tolkien's works, these are what you consider beta canon material, though they are using place settings and references that Tolkien made himself in his works or his letters. Great read. Gives you a little bit bigger, broader view of Middle Earth and the things going on there. So the cultures, politics, the ring rights. Said here, in the days of the elven smiths of Aragon and Altar, Sauron in disguise tricked him into helping him create his wondrous rings of fire. Many tales are told of the 7 rings of the Dwarven kings, 9 rings for lords of men, later known as the Nazgul, and 3 rings for elven lords. The artifacts Sauron never touched but long sought. Few tales tell of the lesser rings they wrought in the days marked by his learning of the elven crafts. Some of his first efforts were later given as gifts to his favorite minions. Among these earlier attempts, 5 rings, the Nazu Kremp, or rings of binding, stood forth as true success. They were plain bands forged on rare metal galvorn bearing no signet or inscription. Although not as powerful as the 9, these lesser rings of power bestowed upon their bearers many of the traits the Dark Lord desired. The wearer of the Nazu Kremp eventually becomes like his brethren, the Ringwraiths, a ring white, who straddles the line between life and death. Although the possessing of physical body is little more than a shadow form sustained by dark energies and rarely subject to natural laws, ring wights survive by draining life energy from their victims, can derive their powers from them as a focus. In this case, their rings, however, bound to the will of the master of the ring for as long as they survive. Unlike the Nazgul, the Urnal Ukai are not immortal, although their span of years far exceed the normal. They cannot use, nor are they affected by normal things. However, they can employ and be harmed by enchanted items and magical weapons. Quite often, Sauron is employed the Urnal Ukai as a master's assassins or spies because of their unnatural abilities in these realms. So, the first adventure is Murder on the High Seas. It says, for 19 years, two-masted merchant vessel called the Ocean Noise plowed the rough waters of the Sea of Rhun. For 12 years, Captain Barlin has been trying to accumulate vessel wealth enough to purchase a new ship. As the oldest surviving vessel on the sea, the ship and its captain are well known in every port. The Ocean Noise boasts 3 decks and carries both passengers and cargo at a speed remarkable for its age. This is attributed to the qualities of its veteran captain and crew rather than the lines and design of the ship. Captain Barlin's knowledge of the coastline, tides, and prevailing winds allow him to sail as far as possible during daylight and still find a safe, secluded harbor for the night. The Ocean Noise is almost always on schedule because of Barlin's daring and ingenuity. Winter has come with unusual ferocity this year. Most ships are anchored in safe harbor for the season, but not the Ocean Noise. She is the last vessel making a full circuit run from Elgar to Sorokan. As a result, many of the normal crew are already home for the winter. The captain has first made recruited replacements in each of the first 3 ports, and the crew is now complete. On this day, Hithiel, the fading third age, 1014, the captain of the Ocean Noise has mixed feelings, blah blah. So the NPCs, the captain himself, Dornan, who is an able amnest astrologer, Grimswassa, a couple other hands for the ship. Here's a nice diagram of the ship itself. Rewards, encounters. This adventure is designed to fit within a structured series of events. This, of course, is open to modification by the GM at its discretion. They'll follow the first victim. She's killed by poison administered by Grimswassa. Canathea, white powder, causes an instant euphoria and brain destruction within 10 minutes. The euphoria may resemble drunkenness, but her god knows that Lafama does not drink, and fermented beverages. The only telltale sign is white blood appears in the ears. A -10 perception roll. Lafama dies at the evening dinner table. This should shock Nathaniel Hanlon, which in this case she glows, and the fact that she is a mage is revealed. Basically, information on this. There's a port of Lest and a small descriptions of the various locations in the port. Minus Falith, the upper and lower caves. The task. In this scenario, adventurers must rescue Princess Herfin and return to the ship within 24 hours. It's like they skipped something, you know? I read this through, and this Murder on the High Seas. See, it talks about the Ocean Noise, the captain not being uneasy, but nothing else. Now we go into the information on the various key crewmen of the Ocean Noise and NPCs, and then encounters for the rewards and encounters in town. Basically, somebody's killing people aboard the crew and ship, and you gotta figure out who. And then we come to 5.0, or the next adventure, to rescue a princess, which makes more sense. A foul kidnapper absconds Princess Her. Instead of a joyous encounter, she expected her nearly identical sister. Hefera's vacation has taken a catastrophic turn. Late in the day, Ocean Noise learned that the ship was already moored in the quay. Hefera hurries towards the ship, approaches the captain, and crew. The NPCs just happen to, or the PCs happen to be nearby. Help me go find my sister. And then we got the key NPCs, the Moral Aemon, the High Priest of Minus Falith, Minas Fowl itself was the Tower Coast, an ancient structure built on bluffs overlooking the inland sea, a little craned by the ruins of More London. The stone of the tower is severely eroded and the walls are accordingly unstable. From a distance, Minas Fowl appears uninhabited. It's the lower caves. Provide a disguised secret. And then we got cave opening. There's your caves, and then your locations, key locations within the caves. The upper caves, traps, lower cellars, the tower itself, priest rooms, sanctuaries, the two twin sisters. The task. In this scenario, the adventurers must rescue the princess, return to the ship within 24 hours. Treacherous seas will create a difficult crossing in a longboat. Hidden cave entrance, rising tides, deadly traps, and hostile guardians will make the tower cellars difficult to reach. Upon their entrance to Minas South, quick thinking, good planning, and centrifuge will be needed to steal the princess back from the priests and servants of the cult of the Long Night. Starting the players, aids, obstacles, straightforward. Rescue the princess. Rewards. Provides opportunities for personal gain. Obviously, reward offered for the rescue of the princess. Additionally, there's a 1,000 gold piece reward for the capture of the cult minions dead or alive. Finally, considerable treasure buried in the lower caves by pirates and brigands of old waits discovery by some lucky adventurers. And remember, a clock's running. You have 24 hours to conclude this before your ride leaves. Encounters. And then we go to the third adventure. It's 6.0, the Watch Tower Massacre. A court adept, the Dorwinian realm master, has been foully murdered 6 months ago. Garibaldi, Syria, and Shirel Kane heard rumors of dire deeds in lances south and east. Great misgivings brought forth the lines that realm master's face, and supported by half-elven Nolden, man of knowledge, i.e. a would-be mage, sent scout to recon the territories surrounding the Sea of Rhun. None have returned. Now the Realm Master's free bad news. Outlying riders found Olden's body dead a few miles from the school. The corpse is desecrated. His room office nowhere to be found. Since the Realm Master's daughter, Hefera, has been missing for 2 months, most of his ready men-at-arms have been sent absent in search of her. Few have yet to return. Early winter has struck the land bitterly. Sea of Rhun churns under the lash of stormy seas and all but close to traffic. In desperation, Garendil or whatever has turned to the adventurers for help. He will commission the Ocean Noise, the only ship in harbor, to bear them to the Tower of Winter in Perhaps the adepts can determine the meaning behind the visions, Nolden's visions. Adventurers can also find out who killed the mage. So much the better. Alright, NPCs. A fell beast. And I think this is a orc leader in Winter in Rekeys the south coast. In the evening, a full moon illuminates snow-covered shore and a trail leading up to the tower. 4-hour march at normal pace to reach the top hill overlooking the stronghold. From this vantage point, the tactical environment may be observed. Summary of possible observations follows: the tower, the walls, the fell beast, level 1 of the tower, map of the tower, various levels, locations. The task: adventurers must reach the tower and determine the dire tidings that were foresaw by the mage. He was witness no less than the return of one of Sauron's ringwraiths, or whose arrival Din Othar is but a forerunner. The rigors of winter will make the initial approach to the stronghold an unnecessary quick one. However, the adventurers do not take sufficient care. They will alert the orcs. Starting players, aids, obstacles, straightforward on becoming of the difficulty. Player characters must decide whether to enter the tower during night or wait for daylight. Must determine the reason for Dolan's death. Once again, the Ocean Noise will leave, drop them off, come back. They've got basically a 24-hour window. Plus, they got to deal with orcs and the weather, so things have gotten even worse. Rewards, encounters, so on and so forth. So we got our NPC charts, or beast table, counter chart. It's not a bad adventure model, although the very opening adventure is a bit confusing because we know that somebody's murdering somebody on the crew, but they don't have any they don't go into any kind of the captain's uneasy. They explain they talk about the ship, talk about the captain, and they say, okay, well, the captain's uneasy. Well, yeah, okay, the captain's uneasy. And then we gotta go into a list of NPCs, and later we discover somebody's poisoned somebody and somebody dies. And so as a GM, you gotta kind of read through it a little bit and then plot your stuff out and maybe fill in that missing piece. The next two adventures, though, are fully formed and already give you the working knowledge you need to know. Like I said, this opportunity opens up an area, some adventure around the Sea of Rhun. There's another module or two that kind of feeds into it. They all interlink to some degree, so you could either carry over from that module's adventures to this one, or this one could lead to event. You know where I'm going. If nothing else, the background information presents some knowledge of a couple towns and villages and some outposts and portions of the Sea of Rhun and how the sea operates. How it's not, you don't sail across the sea, you sail around the sea, because it's a very, very stormy, very dangerous place. And there you have it. Perils on the Sea of Rhun. Till next time, have a happy holiday, good Christmas, Kanye, Kansas, whatever it is you guys celebrate, or don't.